you let me know if you're catching on to this? I got some thick skin, honey, right until you're under it.
Didn't feel like Sunday until I was swinging with you. Riding in my Ford didn't feel like money till I was riding with you. Could be something in your eyes, maybe something in that smile, but I ain't never felt the way I do when I'm with you. Trees seem greener, sun shines brighter, tea tastes sweeter, and trouble seem lighter. I could go on forever in a day or two. Darling, everything's better with you. Kissing on me, baby, all night long. Dancing in the dirt with the crickets and the frogs. Girl, I don't know what it is you do. Everything's better with you. Singing love songs never made no sense till I was singing about you. The only time that is time well spent is time I'm spending with you. Could be something in your eyes, maybe something in that smile, but I ain't never felt so dang brand new when I'm with you. Trees seem greener, sun shines brighter, tea tastes sweeter, and trouble seem lighter. I could go on forever in a day or two. Darling, everything's better with you. Kissing on me, baby, all night long. Dancing in the dirt with the crickets and the frogs. Girl, I don't know what it is you do. Everything's better with you. Spin slower, stars hang lower, heaven feels closer when I'm with you. I could go on forever in a day or two. Don't mind if I do. Trees seem greener, sun shines brighter, tea tastes sweeter, and trouble seem lighter. I could go on forever if you need me to. Darling, everything's better with you. Kissing on me, baby, all night long. Dancing in the dirt with the crickets and the frogs. Girl, I don't know what it is you do. Everything's better with you. I was born in the South with a twang in my mouth, with a honeysuckle wind did blow. And the older I get by the day, I just miss how simple it was. Bare feet, we were 19, jumping in the...
Marketing is a mathematical equation, not an emotional decision. You see, the question is not if Facebook ads will work, it's when it works and how that looks for you. If it was easy, everybody would be running a 7-figure brand, but it isn't. It takes passionate leadership, smart operations, and powerful marketing to truly win. And with the right frameworks and mindset, anything is possible. You only fail when you decide to quit. When life gets tough, you get tougher. When the campaigns tank, you get wiser. When it feels like nothing is working, you push harder. And when you're winning, you remember that feeling. Strive for greatness. Don't settle for average results. Fight like your family, team, customers, and business depend on it, because they do. This is the E-Commerce Alley.
Yeehaw! Welcome here, everybody. Dylan was in a country mood today, I guess. Right down by the crickets and the frogs. That's where I feel like I'm at with some of this music.
I love how we go from country music to that really intense intro back to country music.
This is the E-Commerce Alley.
I love her furs.
Right down the dirt road, the E-Commerce Alley. In a world. Well, hey, everybody, good to see you this week. Who's hanging out on YouTube? We just started streaming to YouTube like a month ago. Super excited about that. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and put a little emoji, like a little wave emoji here. Good to see everybody. I know Carrie asked if I was gonna be wearing, or Jacob, a cowboy hat. We talked about that, ironically. It is across the street at the other office. So
We didn't have time.
Not gonna be wearing that today, but today is going to be good. We're gonna talk about managing ad budgets, how we do it. We're gonna talk about the halo effect. We're gonna talk about taps and caps. We're gonna talk about budgeting on different levels, and then I'm gonna show you a tool that we use to do it that is very easy to replicate so you can do it inside your business. But just to say who's hanging out with us in here, go ahead and drop a cowboy hat so we at least have some names. And a cowboy hat times the number of times you've attended a live stream. So if you've attended 100 live streams, go cowboy hat times 100. Or times 1 if this is your first one. Go ahead and drop that so we know who's hanging out with us here.
Mike Leach says, hello, sweetness, my old friend. I've come to learn from you again. in the sound of course, the tune of Disturbed, Sound of Silence, not the Simon and Garfunkel version.
Yes, oh man.
But
what a
we
good
have-
epic song, actually.
We have Miss Carrie hanging out with us. We have Mike Leach, Cassie, and then of course you have me and you, which, you know.
Yeah,
we always
definitely
have,
good.
And we always have Dylan. Dylan shows up to every single time we go live.
He lurks in the background.
This song is called Country of Texas.
This is called, this song here, by the way, is license free or royalty free, and it's called Country of Texas. It sounds like Country of Texas. All right.
Miss Patricia.
Well, cool.
in the
Hey,
house. Cool.
It's good to have all of you here. So what we're gonna do is this is gonna be more of like a teaching session here. It's probably not gonna go the whole hour. I'll probably like talk here, break down some frameworks. We're gonna screen share. I'm gonna walk through some things for maybe like 30 minutes or so, 25, 30 minutes. And then I'm gonna open this up for Q&A, and then we will close it out as soon as we answer all the questions that we can get to. But let's go ahead, let's dive in to this stuff. Before we do though, I'd love to know from you in the chat, drop in the chat, like, how do you feel about your current budgeting strategy when it comes to advertising? Drop like red light if, hey, red light, yellow light, green light. Red is I don't have any strategy around budgeting for my campaigns. I just increase or decrease spend when I feel like I should. Yellow light is like, hey, I make decisions based on my campaign KPIs, so I increase when it's profitable, decrease when it's not, but I feel like I have a grasp on my budget and how much I'm spending. And green light if, hey, I make decisions based on my campaign level KPIs and overall ad spend percentage, or I'm using marketing efficiency ratio known as MER. So are you red light, yellow light, green light? I kind of want to see where everybody's at before we decide which we're going to kind of press into here.
Yeah, this is always an interesting one to see where people are at, because if you really have it dialed in or possibly not. But I know we have Mr. Wayne here says he is a red light out of the gates. I think last time we even asked this, we actually had a fair amount of yellows, if I recall, because this is
A lot of yellows, yeah.
Second time we've done this training.
We've only done this one other
Yeah.
time, and that was
Yeah.
in August, and this is new. Well, a little bit added to it.
Looks like Megan is also a red light, and Mary Wood, depending on the day, green, yellow, and red.
You know what? That's very fair. Hey, we're not talking about results. We're talking about, do we have a system in place for knowing how much I should budget inside the business? Like, you might know the results aren't what you want, but do you at least have a system for pulling it back and controlling it a little bit more? Well, what I want to cover today is kind of three main things here. So I want to cover what's called creating halo money. And if you ever played Halo, I'm not talking about that. The game Halo, probably our childhood on Xbox there.
1 minute remaining.
Thank you. By the way, our 1 minute countdown timer when we're doing reviews is the Halo voice. So anyway, we're gonna talk about Halo money, we're gonna talk about caps and taps, and we're gonna talk about overall versus campaign budget management, kind of how we do it. And I'm gonna show you the spreadsheet that we use to kind of manage this on a week over week basis so we can monitor trends and make sure we're staying within what we call our caps and our taps. So ultimately, when it comes to managing ads, the downside of advertising is that it costs something. So you want to have a system for managing that, right? Just like your personal income. I hope you have a system for budgeting and knowing, hey, this goes here, this goes to this goes to this, we're investing here, we're saving here. Because if you don't have a plan, what happens is, you get your income, for example, and then at the end of the month, everything's gone, and you're like, I have no idea what happened to it. Same thing can happen with ads. If you're not careful, if you're not intentional, and you don't measure against what your targets are, then it can get really out of control and turn into this cash-eating machine. So we want to make sure that all of our efforts are controlled and that we don't also, in our experience, I'm probably like the anti-guru scaling guy, because I believe in scaling at the right in the right speed that makes sense for your business. Because I've seen horror stories of we get some results, we ramp up the campaign results, and then suddenly our ad spend percentage to our revenue is like 90%, and we're like upside down after cost of goods, and we're just getting eaten alive, and we can't support the volumes, all kinds of things that happen. So we want to really make sure that we are refined, and the most thing is consistent. Consistency is so key in advertising, because we have to remember when we're advertising, there is what we call the halo effect. And so the halo effect, if I was to, let me draw a little halo here. Do we have any Beyonce? Oh, we can't play Beyonce.
We'll get flagged.
We'll get flagged. We can't do that, everybody.
Red light.
Red light. So if we look at like the halo effect, what starts to happen is that advertising over time begins to create this compound effect to where, like, let's say that this little circle right here is money that I'm spending. This little circle is ads, right? So this yellow circle is ads. We're spending money on the ads. But over time, as we spend more and more, our reach starts to grow in other areas. So ads are usually this piece that creates this trickle or halo effect, where what the energy that you've built up in like month 1 will support you in month 2 or 3 or 6 or 12. And when you're spending money on Facebook, you're not just spending on customers now, like that's part of it, spending for now, but you're also spending for later. You're spending in buying data for down the line. So for example, you're building these audiences of people that may have visited your site or watched a video but not taken action. They may have followed you on social media but they didn't buy anything now, but in 3.5 months, they buy something. They may have gone to your website and then joined your email list, got your welcome offers, did nothing, and then in 9.5 months, they buy something from you. And so you get the idea. Like, the idea is to start feeding these other pools of people. And what you don't want to do is be inconsistent in your spending, where you get really excited and then like you become very emotional and you kill it for a week or two. And then you go back in. What you want this slow, steady growth. And it has this trickle effect that begins to go out. And so what starts to happen is as we spend, these other areas of our businesses start to grow. So maybe the center circle here is our ads, but then they start to get into this other circle right out here. And so people see our ads, they don't take action. And then suddenly they're in this circle out here that we'll just call this is maybe they get on our email list, or they join us on social media, right? And they start to do this. They join our SMS list. They get into this next layer, where now the halo effect starts to go out. It starts to reach people in these different places. And then it even goes further out than that. All the way out here, when even if they don't join any of these, what is actually happening still, so even in this area, what's actually happening is there is still this branding effect. So this is where that even if they don't join your email, engage with you on social, or they join your SMS or any of those other pieces, there's still this degree of branding that is happening. That the more you spend, that's on the very outskirts of the touch points and the relationship and branding that's happening. Like the eyeballs that are seeing you that aren't doing anything, they're not engaging, they're not clicking and buying, they're not joining your SMS or email and all that, but they're just kind of watching, they're observing. And then guess what? As you spend and as you implement good budget management, you start to have this staying power where people just begin to know who you are. They start to see you more and more and more until the action comes to a head where they start to move straight into the actual purchase standpoint. So over time, the more you advertise, the more consistent, there is this halo effect that begins to happen. And so if you were to only make decisions, like, so if we think about this, if we only made decisions on our budgets for advertising based on this center bucket here, if we only made dashboard level decisions, like based on our campaign performance, and we didn't look at the business as a whole, then what's gonna happen is you'll be missing out on this halo effect that happens. Because what we see is like ads are like a tide that rises all boats. You start running ads, and again, your SMS goes up, your email, your direct search, people looking for you on Google. You'll notice your brand search goes up. If you're on Amazon, we see a lift in Amazon sales because people are coming and directly searching in your name. I was on a meeting with a client last week, and he was telling me they did this huge push and they saw an immediate direct increase in their brand name in Amazon immediately following this new campaign that they had pushed and jumped budgets up tremendously. And so there's this halo effect that happens, and if you aren't consistent, you're not gonna see this. If you just manage your budgets like a roller coaster, what happens is you don't ultimately see this, how it could play out. And I had a great message from Mike inside. He's inside our Max Profits mentorship, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, our Max Profits mentorship is like our program where we have like the course content that walks you through, hey, what's our $1 million framework? What do we need to get in place for like our offers, our ads, our emails, our website conversion rate optimization? How do we optimize all these components to build a robust marketing new customer acquisition machine? We teach that, and then I coach it, and I'm in like 4 sessions a week. And so we have the Max Profits mentorship. If you're ever interested in that, just go ahead and drop MPM in the chat. Our team will reach out and let you know what that looks like. But anyway, Mike is in our program. And I got this message from him like 3 days ago. And he dropped this, and I don't know if Dylan, I sent the screenshot. If we have the screenshot here, Mike shot me this message, I think it was on Monday. And he said, hey, I thought I would share this chart with you, Josh. Red is a 4-week average revenue, and green is weekly ad spend, which, by the way, in this image, you can't see the green is much lower. It kind of cuts off there. And so he said, between ad spend and revenue, and if you see a dip in sales the week during and after every budget bump as he continues to increase his ad spend, but then a few weeks later, the revenue really kicks in. There's this effect, there's this halo effect, these things that begin to happen. He said, I remember when I was popping champagne when I hit 10K a week revenue, now I'm set up, or 10K a month revenue, but now he's sad if it doesn't hit 10K a week. So pretty cool. So if you look at this, like, over time, you develop this staying power, and you have this halo effect that happens if you're really consistent in doing so. But you also want to make sure that you're not increasing budgets, you're not managing yourself in a way that actually puts you under. So how do we budget then, right? So if we want to experience the halo money effect, where the halo money starts coming in, even if it loses the tracking on Facebook, which is very natural, that does happen. So there are 2 levels of budgeting that we recommend looking at. So the very first level of budgeting here, so 2 levels. Level 1 is on a percentage of revenue. Level 1 is on a percentage of revenue, and level 2 is on the campaign level. So what this means is, this is, in other words, your ads manager. Meaning you're gonna have to make decisions based on ensuring your campaigns are profitable. So level one, the first ensures that your ad spend stays inside what we call a target allocation percentage, TAP, and we're gonna talk about that in a moment. So it stays within a target allocation percentage so that you always have profit in the bank. And then the second level, when we're looking at the campaign level, ensures that you are making advertising decisions based on how your campaign, your ad sets, and your ads are performing. And so it ensures that you're only spending on the most profitable campaigns. And so what I wanna do is break these down into like these two levels and talk through them very briefly. So we break these down by something that we call our TAPs and our CAPs. So your TAPs are your target allocation percentages. So you have target allocation percentages, and then you have your CAPs, which stands for your current allocation percentages. So if I was to look at I could do a simple equation and go, what's my revenue? So revenue divided by ad spend should give us, wait, let me make sure I'm doing this right. We're gonna do ad spend divided by revenue actually as a percentage. So actually kind of reverse these, I'm sorry. You reverse these and this is gonna give you a percentage. So if you made like $10,000 in a month and you spent, so we're gonna go 10,000 in revenue and then you spent $4,000 in spend, well, obviously in this case, your current allocation percentage of revenue is 40%, right? Pretty simple math here. So we have TAPs and we have CAPs. Now, the reason you have to look at both of these, and I actually stole this concept from the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Fantastic book on managing money. You have your current allocation percentages and your target. I just took this, and I'm a nerd, and I applied it to marketing. So we have two different thresholds here. And I was curious when we were starting to research it, I was curious what we have ranges that we see your target allocation percentage of revenue should be in. But I was curious to see what do other people have to say. So I went and I Googled it and went through all these different like Forbes magazines, Business Insider, all these different things. And what we found was Forbes had an article that said you should only spend 5 to 10% of your revenue on marketing. And this is all marketing. This is like email marketing and labor that you have and agencies you might hire and your ad spend. Between all marketing should be 5 to 10%. So I'll say, I've never seen a brand spend 5 to 10% and be growing in any degree of a healthy standpoint. Now they look at all businesses, including service, but in e-commerce, I'm just gonna give you the range. Your TAP should be, your target allocation percentages should be anywhere from 15 to 30%. This is a generally good range that we see. If you're in this range as a percentage of your revenue on ads, you're gonna be growing, but giving you room to take owner's compensation, a lot for taxes and profits and cost of goods and making sure everything is handled at the end of the day. So what we want to do is we want to establish what is that percentage of allocation that no matter what, we are committing to this halo effect. If my business was doing 10,000 a month and I said my target allocation percentage is by the way, we're gonna pick a 5% range. So you're gonna choose, really there's only one of three. So we're gonna go 15 to 20%, we're gonna go 20 to 25%, or we're going to go 25 to 30%. So pick one of these ranges, 1, 2, or 3. And what this means is you will commit that much to advertising your business amongst all channels no matter what. You're gonna always stay in that range. But sometimes the current allocation percentages don't shake out. You start running and then you have a slow week. And if your ad spend is still committed, what happens is there's this gap. And then all of a sudden your ad spend percentage for the last week was 65% because you didn't adjust budgets accordingly. And so the first thing is to say, what is my range? I'll tell you, for most of our clients, they're all striving for that 25 to 30%. Very few do 15 to 20. I'd say majority that are growing and winning the most and still acquiring new customers and investing in that halo money effect is they're doing 20 to 30, 25 to 30 though is the most common percentage. We also are in that camp. As a business, we commit 25 to 30% of our revenue no matter what, all right? So, and if we're looking at the overall business budgeting level, this is that first thing to say, how much can I commit to spending? So every week what we do is we say, okay, I'm gonna pick my threshold, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30. Then I'm gonna match what I'm doing against that to see where I sit. So if my target is 25 to 30, and then I come in and I say, okay, I look at the last week and I'm sitting at 47%, and it's Monday, and I look at the last 7 days and I'm at 47%, well then what do I have to do? I have to decrease my ad spend this week to get me back into that healthy zone. And so the goal is, once you pick this percentage, once you pick your range, so you're gonna have your range of budget, and let's say I do 25% all the way to 30%. And we have a sliding scale. So what's gonna happen is, some days you're gonna come down in this side of it, and you're gonna be sitting on the lower end of it. Some days you'll drop below that. You might drop down to 19%. And what that means is, hey, guess what? The halo effect is working. You're growing your business. People, even if it's not tracked in Facebook, we're seeing a rise in revenue as a result of consistent advertising. So what does that mean? Now this week we get to increase our ad spend because our percentage on the bottom is getting lower. It means people are coming back and we're getting repeat business, and we're getting email customers, and we're getting social customers and organic customers. So it gives us we earn the right to increase the budget we're committing to. Now on the reverse side, sometimes the budget shoots this way and it gets to the upper end of the 30. And as long as we are sitting in this range, we're okay. We're not gonna touch anything. But if we go further than the 30% range, we need to decrease the budget. And if we go lower than the bottom 25%, we need to increase the budget. Right? Because it means now we're earning that right to do it because we're having this halo effect, repeat business, etc. Right? And so the first thing I recommend is determining what target allocation percentages you should be in. But I'm curious to know right now in the chat, what would you say your current allocation percentages are? And what would your tap be? Would you be number 1, 15 to 20%, number 2, 20 to 25, or number 3, 25 to 30%? So drop in there, hey, this is what my tap would be, and then drop in the chat what your cap is. Like, what's your current allocation percentage if you were to just ballpark it, meaning ad spend as a percent, all ad spend is a percentage of your total revenue in the business. What would that be?
BJ dropped a comment, hey, totally cool with you giving the cliff notes of all the books that you've read. And then Cassie says, absolutely fascinating, gold. And then it looks like Carrie said she's about in that 25 to 30 as well. So
okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so sometimes though we are higher than that. And all it just means is we have to pull back. We have to, for us, we believe you have to earn the right to scale. Now, most people don't talk about this. Most people actually talk about the next level, where we actually make decisions on the campaign level. So this is where it can get dangerous, right? So a lot of people make decisions on the campaign level, meaning I'm gonna set a target, right? I'm gonna set a target and I'm gonna say, okay, if I'm making my decisions based on my target, so let's say my target, and I'm just gonna use ROAS for simplicity here. You might use cost per acquired customer, you might use CPA, whatever that is. So let's say my target ROAS is like 2.5 or higher, right? And let's say I am, I like charts, I'm just gonna do some charts here. So let's say that this is spend and this is results. So we're taught, if we're above our target, we increase, and that is good. That's actually a good thing to do. If we are below our target, we decrease, right? It's very simple. So what we think is, hey, if I start spending money, right? I start spending money and I'm getting results and I get a 2.5, then I will just continue to spend more money. I'll just continue to spend more money and my results will keep getting better. But what we do know happens, and this is just very natural, as you spend and your thresholds go up, you're gonna very quickly realize that actually there's this law of diminishing returns. You're gonna realize that, hey, I usually can't always maintain the results. But sometimes what we like to do is if we only make decisions based on a campaign dashboard, like, hey, I'm at a 2.5 and I'm spending like $200 a day, I'm gonna ramp this up. I'm gonna go to 400 or 500 a day. I'm gonna like double my ad spend. Well, sometimes what can happen is if you're not careful, what was working could take a nosedive like this. And so your results go down, but you're still spending a lot more up here than you were over here. And so if you make this massive jump, everything if we only made decisions on the campaign level in the ads manager, that's assuming that everything will always work out. It doesn't always work out. So I'm more of a conservative guy. I've been in those moments where I'm broker than broke. We are in unbelievable amounts of credit card and lines of credit debt and all kinds of debt. And I've been in those moments where, hey, something's working. We want to pour the gasoline on it and like double or triple or go like crazy on this. And then guess what happens? This happens right here. We have the results not maintained because everything is good if everything is good. Like in a perfect world, we just increase the budget and everything works out, but it doesn't always work like that. And so if you use both of these tactics where you say, hey, each week I'm going to commit to this amount of ad spend based on my trailing 4 weeks of ad spend percentage. If we commit this week, even if we have things profitable this week, we don't go and increase the overall budget. We just optimize what's already inside the account that we have committed to. Sometimes you'll commit to doing more revenue. And what you do is based on how the account's doing. You might go just increase the budget of a single campaign and be done. You might also say, hey, we need to go do some more testing. And guess what? You've allocated the budget to be able to go do that. But in some cases, it's not. Your ad spend percentage went higher than the 30% for some of you, right? If it goes higher than that, then what we need to do is we need to, this week, commit to a 20% budget just to pull the average back down. So these are what we call TAPs and caps. And then this is how we budget when it comes to the campaign level. So we make campaign level decisions and overall business level decisions. Two different budgeting levels. The high level is going to allow us to slowly grow as we earn the right from the halo money effect. And as our ads are profitable, our ad spend will trail our revenue. So we want to make sure we're only increasing ad spend as our revenue is making sense to do so. And then we set our KPIs inside our campaigns and say, this is my ROAS target or this is my CPA target. And then we make campaign level decisions or ad set level or ad level decisions based on that. Most people only budget based on that. So if I'm doing really, really well, I'm just gonna ramp things up. But then what happens is sometimes it shoots your ad spend percentage to like 50% for this next week, but the results don't go up like you thought they would. And then now you're in a pickle. And so instead, we'd like to be slow, steady, methodical, and profitable as we are doing this. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to show you all kind of the tool that we use to do this that helps a lot, and it makes it a little bit easier. So if you don't have one of these, it's not very hard to create. But we use something we like to call the CEO dashboard. So I want to show you very tangibly how this would look inside your business. So what I'd like to do is we call the CEO dashboard, like as a business, you should be tracking certain numbers day over day, week over week, month over month. And so we like to track a couple different things. And this is something that we give. If you're in the Max Profits mentorship, by the way, any of our MPMers in here, you have access. You should have access to this in the worksheets and templates. But basically what we like to do is we like to track week over week results when we're managing our ads. So a tool like this is gonna help you know what your ad spend percentage is and monitor a 4-week trend. And then we budget at the start of each week based on the 4-week trend. So let me give you an example. Let's say this week my revenue is maybe it's not adding in here, $8,500. There we go. And then my ad spend this week was $2,900. So as you notice, my ad spend percentage for the last week, and I'll just put like week ending, I'll just do the date. So 2/22. Awesome. And then I'm just gonna say equals this plus 7. Awesome. Let me just drag these down so we can look at a couple weeks here. So then each week I'm gonna come in on Monday, I'm gonna look at the last 7 days and say, okay, I'm gonna insert all my numbers in here. Now I'm not gonna go across the board here, but you get the idea. So I'm gonna enter my revenue, I'm gonna enter my ad spend. Now you can see last week, we spent 34%. 4-week average is this. Well, that's because we don't have more than 4 weeks in here. And then we're gonna come and say, okay, then we spent $7,500, but I pulled my ad spend back because I knew I had to drop it a little bit. So let's say I dropped it to like $2,200 because my goal was to stay below 30%. Well, now it's down to 29.3, but my average 4-week running is this. So what does that mean? Oh, it means that I actually need to still I could keep my budget lower so it keeps going down. So then let's say I had a big old week and I did $10,000 this week. And I decided because of this 2-week average was still above 30, I still had to lower my budget. So maybe I lowered it a little bit here to 2,000. Well, now it dropped my ad spend percentage for that 1 week to 20%, but my average 4-week running is 28%. So now I'm in this spot. Okay, I'm in a good spot here. That means I'm probably gonna stabilize and try to keep it in the same range. Maybe I won't touch anything this week, okay? And hope that I get the same results. And then let's say that this is a week that we had a lot of subscriptions renew and we had like $15,000 in sales, but we kept the same budget that we committed to. So now it brings my average down to 24. But guess what? Now that I'm looking, we always look at our 4-week average. And if I look at it and I say it's 24.2%, well, guess what? That's the bottom of my bear. I'm looking to do 25 to 30. So what this means is I've now earned the right to commit for the next week to a higher ad spend budget. I might come in here and do like 2,500. And then the revenue comes in and let's say it's 11,000. So you could see what starts to happen here. Maybe this takes a big dip. I'll use another example here. And it goes to 41.2% that week. But that's okay because look at our 4-week running average. It's still at 26%, which is where we want it to be. So as you can see here, the goal is to be methodical with your budgeting and intentional from a business level standpoint. And then when you get down to the campaign level, you kill things and you kill things and inject new things based on the performance of those against your KPI, whether that's target return on ad spend or cost per acquisition or customer acquisition cost. Whatever your target is, you would use that metric and that's what you would do. So if you do something like this, it's gonna hold you accountable as a business to ensure you have margin for buying new products, you have owner's comp, you have all those things. What happens is when you get to 50 or 60% of your ad spend, well then usually by the time you factor in all the cogs and everything, you're just like gasping for air and it's razor thin and it's very, very stressful. So if I was just to recap a few things here, number one, pick your target allocation percentage between 15 and 30%, a 5% range there. Number two, start tracking your current allocation percentages against that to see, am I in that range? And then adjust accordingly on a business level. And as you do that, you then are able to make decisions each week inside your ads manager based on the budget that you have allocated and committed to for that week. We call it the weekly budget commitment. And so you make a budget commitment for each week, whatever day you decide to start your week on, and then that's all you have to work with, whether it's for testing, whether it's for increasing some budget on things that are working, decreasing budget and reallocating it. Whatever you do, the total week needs to come together to be that committed amount for that week. And this hedges against that hyper scaling and finding ourselves upside down. Okay. That's all I got. That's all I got. So yeah, about 30 minutes or so of kind of like teaching and diving into this. I know I was kind of going fast here, but I highly recommend you do have a dashboard, you do something like this. It's gonna help you in your business tremendously so you can make wise mathematical based decisions.
Rock and roll. Well, we obviously have time for questions, so if your brain isn't melted yet, and you still
Sorry, I was just in the weeds.
This is such a good session. It's very much in the weeds and tactical. So if anyone has any questions, feel drop. Looks like BJ had a comment here. If no one told you today, you are a gift. Wow for everyone out there. That if you're not an MPM, go join. The one sheet he just showed is totally worth the price of admission. The course is truly amazing. However, what just got shown here is wow. So cool.
Awesome.
Really cool comment from BJ there, so appreciate you, BJ.
Yeah, hey, we appreciate you.
Annabelle says, game changer, this 2-level system is so good.
I carry cap as crap.
That was my favorite.
Hey, sometimes it's a reality and we just have to pull back. Yeah.
Cool. Miggs has access to foolproof Facebook ads course, and he was asking if the CEO dashboard is in there. I'm not sure if it is. It's
not in there, Miggs. I messaged you like a long voice memo this morning with some stuff. I'll just shoot you the link right after we're done here. Go check your DMs.
Good stuff. Rock and roll.
Cool. Well, hey, yeah, if anyone has any questions, drop it in. We'll stay here for just a couple more minutes here. And yeah, other than that, awesome. Miggs, go ahead and check your docs. I just DM'd it to you. All right, cool. So if anyone by the way, is not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you need to go check it out. So we just dropped a video yesterday. I did it. We went through the entire breakdown of Magic Spoon cereal. If you're not familiar, it's like a keto-friendly cereal that's like it's $10 a box. So we went and we did an entire funnel breakdown, the shopping experience, the checkout experience, the receiving the products, the unboxing. I break it all down, and then we actually did a taste test with Andrew and Jacob and I in here in the studio of our thoughts on it, just in case you want to see our reactions as we tried this very expensive, very healthy cereal. Well, very healthy is maybe relative. So anyway, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, go check that out. We're dropping YouTube videos now every other week on tons of different concepts and stuff like that. So we even dropped the budget manage one as well, but not as technical as this.
Cool.
Cool.
Michael Leach says that the taste test was hilarious. It was definitely a fun one.
Yeah. We were so sick afterwards because like when you eat that much cereal.
We had to eat like 10 bowls a piece, and it was just like,
a lot of protein.
My gosh.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, if nobody has any questions, then that's totally okay. Hopefully I just vomited this and you can go back through and watch what you need. Please do this. It's going to help your business. Don't make the mistake of like saying, hey, my numbers are where they need to be from a target KPI standpoint. I'm just gonna scale this to the moon because there's so many, it's all great when it's great and when things work out. But if there's anything in life that I have learned, Jake's learned, Dylan's learned, and you have probably learned, it's that things don't always, in fact, don't often go according to plan. So if you go scale very hyper aggressively, you might find yourself in a bad spot and your ad spend percentage just eats you alive, and then you find yourself in this perpetual vicious cycle of having to pay for the ad bill while your ad budget is taking up 57% of your revenue. And that's not where you want to be. So you have to start to wean off of that and slowly decrease to earn the right to increase that.
Looks like we had a question come in on our YouTube stream. How can I track this data as a new business account? Or what would be the best way to make these calculations if you're just getting started?
I would build a spreadsheet like the one that I showed you. I mean, you might have to Google like how to do that. We only give our documents out to like the people who have joined our foolproof Facebook ads or people who have joined our mentorship program, or the clients we work with. So it's a simple spreadsheet though. If you just take the revenue and you divide that by, or you take the ad spend and you divide it by revenue, it'll tell you the percentage it'll tell you that percentage. And so you could do a spreadsheet calculation or Google how to do that. That's what I would do.
So that kind of leads into a question from Megan. If you're just getting started with paid ads, do you feel you need to spend more that tap to get things rolling and test before balancing out your budget? Yeah,
so when you're just getting started and you have no revenue, your percentages are gonna be out of whack. Usually by the time you're to like that $5,000 to $10,000 a month range in revenue, that's when you start to level it out and you wanna really make sure that you're dialing it in and monitoring it. So when you first begin, my recommendation is to do something that I call budget sprints. This is where like, let's say I was starting from zero and I'm selling Freedom Hill coffee roaster mugs right here and I have 0 customers. Well, technically every dollar that I spend is gonna be a high percentage of my revenue because I have 0 revenue. So in that case, this is the buy-in. This is where you are buying that data and you're gonna have to make those initial moves as an investment in your business. So I'm gonna work in what I call budget sprints. And what this means is I'm gonna allocate a dollar amount that I'm willing to invest in the business with 0 expectation this week. So you might say, hey, I'm gonna invest $200 in the business this week and I'm gonna run it. And if it's profitable, I'll let it keep running. But if it's not, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna analyze and see what I need to do next. And if you keep working in that and you keep doing these little budget sprints, you'll get to this point where the revenue becomes stable and then the ad spend is no longer a sprint, but rather it's something that you just are constantly doing because you've figured out what ads work and structures and your process. And then as you get new customers and it starts to ramp up, then you can start dialing back your ad spend as a percentage. But flat out, when you're beginning a business, it's just an investment. You don't have that compound effect yet. That is the initial buy-in of the halo effect, is that you have no halo. You have no traffic, you have no brand, when you're starting at 0, it's an investment in your business, which by the way is an asset that over time will pay more and more dividends.
Cool. Annabelle asked if we have a recommendation as far as how many days after a campaign is going well do we increase the budget?
It just kind of depends. Depends on like what. Depends on how you want to operate. We're fans of like way less change. Like it depends on how your campaign, your own ad account responds. Everyone's accounts respond in different ways, and so our general rule of thumb is that like we try to make budget bumps like once a week. So we like to make them less frequently, but larger. So let's say I'm at $100 a day and I was thinking of bumping my budget twice this week from 100 to 125 and then 150 at the end of the week if it's doing well. I would rather just bump the budget to 150 and then not touch it for the entire week, because what we're seeing more and more is that less jumps but larger jumps are producing way more stable results. And every time we touch a budget, generally we see the results dip for like 3 to 5 days. It kind of just depends. Some people don't dip at all, the results just remain steady, but sometimes it dips a little bit and then we expect it to come back up. So that's kind of our rule of thumb. It just kind of depends on your business. Sometimes we'll do budget jumps like every other week, but we'll make big jumps and then we let it stabilize for 2 weeks. It just depends on, it depends on your cash position too and how aggressive you're trying to grow things. So usually once a week is how we recommend it.
Cool. Well, looks like that is it as far as questions go, Josh.
Rock and roll. Well, hey, good to see all of you. We appreciate you. We have some new good stuff dropping on the podcast. Next Monday, we have a guest, Ethan Bentz, coming to talk about conversion rate optimization. Don't miss that. We appreciate all of y'all. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next week right here in the studio. Bye.
See ya.